Welcome back, everybody. We have Eric Richard with Central Arkansas FPV Racers, and of course Kendall Thornton with Museum of Discovery, and we are here talking about drone races. This is so much fun. I'm excited about this because a lot of people at home, they see drone footage, they hear about drones, but they don't get to actually interact with it. There's something that we use a lot in our industry, of course, but people out there don't really know how it all works, so we get to learn that.
That's very true. We're so lucky at the museum to have a great relationship with Eric and FPV Racing Experience and the Central Arkansas FPV Racers. And they come to the museum periodically for Tinkerfest and do some drone demos, but we're lucky to have them this weekend actually participating in some races that you'll do periodically at the museum, because our WOW Gallery is in between exhibits. So we're bringing in our dinosaur exhibit that starts next week. So we're actually going to have some dinos in the exhibit that they're going to be racing around.
Whoa, that adds an even cooler element to the whole thing. But let's talk about drones.
Yeah, definitely. So what we'll be racing on Saturday is this little guy here. It's called a Tiny Hawk S. It uses FPV, which is first-person view. So that's a little security camera right here that sends real-time video to these goggles. Then the pilots fly via the goggles. These little guys can get up to about 35 miles an hour, and they're pure lightweight. They're not used for cinematography or industrial works. It's really just speed and agility.
So the camera is just right there. It's that little thing on the front, right?
Yes.
That's so interesting. And when people think of putting these goggles on and seeing an image, they often think of virtual reality. But I was reading in the information you guys sent us, it's not virtual reality because it is reality.
Yes, happening real time, real space. Everything is happening. It has a lot of likeness to RC airplanes.
Interesting. So walk us through how it all works. Can you give us a little demo flying around?
Sure.
Awesome.
So I'll plug in the drone here. There we go.
I like the little LED light.
Yeah, little LED light so you can watch it as a spectator. And then it sends a direct feed to the goggles, so you can take a look through there.
Oh my goodness, this is crazy. So I'm seeing what the camera is seeing. So as it's facing this way, I can see the cameras and the whole studio. This is so cool. I see myself. Wow.
So you get a true out-of-body experience as you're looking at the back of your head through the goggles.
Yeah. Whoa, I felt the air of that. This is really cool.
And what's great is they have typically monitors set up so the guests are able to see what the pilot is seeing as well. And I've watched it. I'm impressed. They go, I think, 35 miles an hour, and they will zip all through the museum, and it is very impressive.
That's something that you don't get to see typically. You're not seeing it from the perspective as it's moving in real time, which is really cool. Like seeing yourself on the footage as you're moving, that's a really interesting experience. So when it comes to the racing, how does that element of it work? People who go will just get to watch the experience and see what that whole thing is like.
Definitely, and there's a lot of STEM related to it. You're looking at frequency deconfliction. You got everyone that's got, these things have only been around for 5 years now. So there's a lot of experimental stuff, things that are developing, things that go wrong naturally. And so you have 3 or 4 guys that line up on the line, and on go, you go through like an obstacle course. So there's a bunch of different hoops that are placed throughout the museum, and then it's usually fastest 3 laps wins.
And how do you learn to fly a drone? That's something I've always been curious about, because I don't understand the whole process of how you're able to communicate with your I don't even know how to formulate how to express what I'm saying.
Yes, so a lot of racers use simulators, so they load that up on the computer. But really it's just crash, burn, repeat. So a lot of the drone racers, they crash. So there's just a lot of repair involved. It just takes pure practice. So it takes about 150 packs to really get used to it at 3 to 4 minutes a piece.
That's so cool. And when we're talking about crashing and having to repair stuff, these things aren't cheap.
No. So entry now has actually come down quite a bit. When I got into it, I was looking at $1,400 to $1,500 just to get into the hobby. A lot of YouTube time to learn how to build it. But now you can get into it for as low as $170.
And how does it all work with, I'm fascinated by the element of being able to see it real time as it's coming through. How does that process work?
So there's 2 separate things that are going on. So you have the main processor board, which likes it to an RC airplane. And then you also have the video feed. So the camera goes to a video transmitter, which gets sent to the goggles. So you're running 2 things at the same time. And it's, the second half of your question?
I don't remember.
Okay,
But,
yeah,
but
that's
the
fine.
thing, because I've always seen it as like the drones that we fly here at Channel 7 they look more like this, and our drone operator will have the image right there on like the controller he's using, but having it in the goggles,
Yes.
how does that really expand the experience?
Definitely, and so it's all low latency, so you have to have lower resolution, so you're looking at more of like a tube TV, like something you had back in, 10, 15, 20 years ago before high definition, and that gives a low delay between what's being transmitted from the drone to the goggles.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And so, of course, there's an educational aspect to this all. That's what you guys are big on at Museum of Discovery. So let's talk about that. You've mentioned it a little bit, but what are people learning from this process?
It's a lot of, obviously, technology.
Yeah.
And one thing I love you saying that it's kind of learning through trial and error. We really encourage that. We encourage you to make mistakes and adapt, from those mistakes. And so it's a lot of that. But yeah, we're just fortunate to have this relationship because it's so big in technology. It's really where a lot of, a lot of the future is headed. And so to have these kids get to watch this, talk to some of the pilots, ask them questions, and then formulate even more questions, as they go home, because we have parents say when they talk to them at Tinkerfest, they just had a million more questions when they got home and started doing research on drones. And so that's great. That's what we want to do, is just encourage you to take that experience at home, get involved in flying drones, and who knows where that will lead.
It's the future. It
Yeah.
really is. And so many industries are using drones. News, we use them. They use them in cinematography. I've also heard about them being used in like land surveying
Yes.
and seeing that whole scope. So it's so interesting on the different areas that drones are going, which is awesome. But let's talk about why you guys wanted to partner with the Museum of Discovery.
So I run a personal business called FPV Experience, and that's all about getting drone technology into schools in the hands of students. So I partnered with Museum Discovery naturally because they're the big science group in town. So I met with them. We started working through this about 6 months ago. And it was just a natural progression, working with them and getting it into the museum and starting racing.
Awesome. So once again, let's go over for people at home when this is, how they can come to it.
Yeah, so it's going to be this Saturday at the Museum of Discovery from 1 to 5. And so it's going to be in our WOW Gallery, which is where our feature exhibits rotate. So that's upstairs, just when you walk in, you'll turn right and be there. And so there's going to be several areas that they're going to be flying through. So we'll have several points that guests can just watch and interact. And so that's just all included in your regular museum.
I was going to say,
admission.
if you have a membership, you can just go, which is so awesome.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
thank you,
Great
Eric,
deal.
so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
I had a lot of questions just about drones in general, so I hope that was interesting for the viewers at home because I'm just going on my own
Yeah,
tangent here.
yeah.
But of course, Kendall, thank you so much as well. Check out Museum of Discovery right down the road from us here at the River Market, and there's some information there on your screen for you if you're interested in finding out more. Once again, thank you two so much for being here. Well, up next, we're getting seeds growing inside